Hey, welcome back. Now we've added some collision volumes to the enemy class and attached those to the weapon bones on the mesh. We're now ready to create some functions that will enable overlap events for these collision volumes. So let's go ahead and jump back into our enemy.h and create a couple of functions that we can call to activate the collision on the left and right weapons. First, I'm going to create a void function and call this activate left weapon. Now, if we're going to have an activate left weapon, we should have a deactivate left weapon. And we're also going to need these functions for the right weapon. So I'm going to create activate right weapon and deactivate right weapon. So we can create some function bodies for these functions. So there's the body for left weapon, activate and deactivate. And here's one for activate right weapon and for deactivate right weapon. Now I'm going to make all of these blueprint callable. That way we can call these from an animation notify. So we can activate the left and right weapon collision boxes based on where we are in our attack collisions. So let's go ahead and create U functions for these and make each of them blueprint callable. I'm going to copy the U function macro and paste it for each of these. Now I'm going to add just a little comment at the top here and say activate / deactivate collision for weapon boxes. And I'm going to go ahead and go into enemy.cpp and search for activate left collision. And here are our 4 new functions. Now for activate left weapon, all we need to do is get the left weapon box and set collision enabled so that it's capable of generating overlap events. Now our left weapon box is called left weapon collision. So what we need to do is say left weapon collision, set collision enabled. And for collision enabled, we're going to say eCollision enabled query only. And with query only, we're going to be able to generate overlap events. But we don't need to collide with anything. We don't need to use physics. So we really just need query only for this. Now I'm going to copy this and go into activate right weapon and paste it, and instead of left weapon collision, we're going to use right weapon collision. Now in deactivate left weapon, I'm going to paste it again, and this time we're going to set collision enabled to no collision. So in other words, we're going from no collision to query only back to no collision. And when we switch depends on when these functions get called. And again, we're going to call these from blueprints using anim notifies. Now I'm going to copy this line for deactivate left weapon and paste it into deactivate right weapon, only we're going to change it from left weapon collision to right weapon collision. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and compile this, and then we'll jump back into the editor. Okay, we're back in the editor. Let's go into our enemies folder and go into animations and check out our enemy attack montage. Here we are. We have our 4 attack sections, and one of the things I'm noticing right away is in the montage sections, we have our montages set to link one after the other. We're going to hit the clear button. That way each of these attacks is only fired once and it doesn't trigger the next animation after it. So go ahead and save that right away. Now here in these montage sections, we're going to create a couple of anim notifies for activating and deactivating the collision volumes on our weapons. So I'm going to take our first attack animation here. I'm going to scroll in a bit, and just to remind you, hold Control and use the mouse wheel in order to scroll in on these. Now I'm going to scrub through this animation until I find where I'd like to activate that left weapon box. So let's zoom in just a bit, and I'm going to scrub through this, and I think I'd like to activate the collision box right about here. So let's go ahead and add an anim notify for this right here. I'm going to right click in the notifies bar, click add notify, new notify, and we need a notify to activate the left collision box. So we're going to say activate left weapon. Now I'm going to keep scrubbing through until the swing is just about finished And I think this right about here is a good spot. So I'm going to click the drop down and insert notify track here and right click right where we are in the animation, add notify, new notify. And this one I'll call deactivate left weapon. So now our attack L fast will activate the collision about here and deactivate the collision right here. Okay, I'm going to control and use the mouse wheel to zoom out just a bit and scrub forward to our right attack animation. So for this one, I'd like to activate the collision. I'm going to zoom out just a bit. I'm going to activate the collision right about here. So I'm going to right click in the notifies track, add notify, new notify, and this one I'm going to call activate right weapon. Now I can scrub through to where the swing is just about complete. I'd say about right here. And I'm going to right click and add a new notify and call this deactivate right weapon. So that will take care of our attack R fast montage section. Now I'm going to go into our attack L and I'm going to add that notify for activating the left weapon right about here. So let's go ahead and right click, add notify, and under skeleton notifies, we'll see activate left weapon. And if we scroll through to about there, I'd say that's a good spot. I'm going to right click and add notify, skeleton notifies, and deactivate left weapon. And that looks good. Now let's scrub through our attack R animation, and I'd like to activate it just about there. So let's right click, add notify, skeleton notifies, and activate right weapon. And then we can scrub through to where the swing is just about complete. I'd say about there. And I'm going to add the notify for deactivate right weapon. Now I'm going to control and zoom out with the mouse wheel. And now we have our anim notifies. Okay, perfect. So now we have some notifies here in the animation montage. We now need to implement these notifies in the animation blueprint. So let's hit save and then enter the blueprint. And in the blueprint, we're going to go to the event graph and right click and type activate. And here are the activate and deactivate weapon notifies. I'm going to select activate left weapon, and I'm going to copy these nodes for try get pawn owner cast to enemy BP. That way we have a reference to the enemy. And as the enemy BP, I'm going to call activate left weapon. And that will call the blueprint callable function that we created, activate left weapon, which is here, which sets the collision enabled to query only. Now I'm going to right click, type activate, and select the deactivate left weapon. And I'm going to copy these nodes again. And as enemy BP, I'm going to call deactivate left weapon. And that takes care of the left weapon. Now I'm going to right click and type activate again and select activate right weapon. And I'm going to copy the get pawn owner and cast nodes. And as enemy BP, I'm going to type activate and select activate right weapon. And finally, I'm going to get that anim notify for deactivate right weapon. I'm going to get the pawn owner cast to enemy BP and call deactivate right weapon. And now our animations will drive whether or not our collision boxes are activated or deactivated. All right, that's going to conclude this video. We now have our collision volumes activated and deactivated based on anim notifies from our enemy attack montage. We're now all set up and ready to start actually doing something once the enemy hits the character. I'll see you in the next video.